Well, we heard from the wives of the Yajnik Brahmanas, and now we're hearing from the sages. Text 34, Canto 4, Chapter 7. The sages prayed, "Dear Lord, are most wonderful. Your activities are most wonderful. And although you do everything by your different potencies, you are not at all attached to such activities. You are not even attached to the goddess of fortune, who is worshipped by the great demigods like Brahma, who pray to achieve her mercy." Purport. In Bhagavad Gita, it is said that the Lord has no desire to achieve any result from his wonderful activities, nor has he any need to perform them. But still, in order to give an example to people in general, he sometimes acts, and those activities are very wonderful. He is not attached to anything. Namam karmani limpanti. Although he acts very wonderfully, he is not at all attached to anything. Bhagavad Gita 4:14. He is self-sufficient. The example is given here that the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi, is always engaged in the service of the Lord, but still he is not attached to her. Even great demigods like Brahma worship. What's going on over here? Even great demigods like Brahma worship the goddess of fortune in order to win her favor. But although the Lord is worshipped by many hundreds and thousands of goddesses of fortune, he is not at all attached to any one of them. This distinction concerning the exalted transcendental position of the Lord is specifically mentioned by the great sages, semicolon. He is not like the ordinary living entity who is attached to the results of pious activities. And then on the other hand, he is attached to the goddess of fortune. What does that mean? It means he's not attached like we're attached. There's 6 opulences of Bhagavan. One of them is renunciation in fullness. And renunciation of material doesn't mean renunciation of spiritual. So if he's not attached, does that mean, for those of us that are struggling, he's not attached in the sense that he doesn't care. Go ahead and struggle, I don't care. That's not the meaning. That's not the meaning. And not attached to the goddess of fortune doesn't mean I don't care. Because the goddess of fortune is his Swarup Shakti. In Krishna's Leela, she is Rukmini, the goddess of fortune, she. And Narayana in Vaikuntha, although he receives so much service, he's not attached. Take her or leave her, I don't care. That's not the meaning. Not attached in the worldly sense. It's very similar. This line of understanding is similar to he has no form, he has no qualities, and the impersonalist, it's full stop. He has no material form, he has no material qualities, he has no material activities, and yet he has activities, he has form, he has qualities. Clear, right? There's definition and transcendence, And the statement that he's not attached is description of the worldly sense. Now, young man, Krishna, plays upon his flute, and the gopis come because they're attached to him. He's very beautiful, and they come. Now, one of the symptoms of his detachment, there's two symptoms of his detachment. This isn't very good. You should go back home. You can simply do Dhyan Yoga. You can meditate on me. And the gopis say, Dhyan Yoga, Dhyan Yoga, we want you. Dhyan Yoga. Don't give us that. You called us. We came. We violated all, worldly considerations, and here we are. And please don't do this. Now, what was he doing? In one sense, he's exhibiting his detachment, but more importantly and more profoundly, he was stimulating their attachment for him. And he left the rasa dance. But he didn't go far. Our acharyas describe in many beautiful paintings. Krishna was watching. What are they going to do? He knew that what they were going to do, and he knew why he was disappearing from the rasa dance. In the one sense, in an external sense, they were feeling a kind of transcendental pride. How fortunate we are. Here we are with Krishna. Krishna doesn't like pride, so he disappeared. But it's not just they had material pride. He wanted to increase their attachment for him. It worked. They literally or figuratively went mad. Gopi Gita. They went by the shore of the river Jamuna and sang. Before that, they danced and they reenacted his pastimes, and then they went and sang because they're just immersed in him. And then voila, he came again, and they had the rasa dance. So he was exhibiting detachment for their benefit, to increase their love. And we understand, and even further step into transcendence is, as they were feeling attachment, they were feeling separation from him, he was feeling separation from them. So whose feelings of separation are greater? Their feelings for him or his feelings for them? Or Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's feelings as Krishna himself in the mood of Radharani. Now there's the superlative. But who can understand that? We can talk about it, but who can understand it? It takes a Paramahamsa to understand it. Many of you know in Brihat Bhagavatamrita Part 1, the whole large volume ends with Narada Muni. The plot is Narada Muni is on a quest. His quest is, who's the greatest recipient of the mercy of the Lord? And he goes from one to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next. He ends up in Dwarka. He was told by the Pandavas that the residents of Dwarka are the greatest recipients of the mercy of the Lord because he's always there. He's not always there, but he's largely there. And they're plotting and scheming how to have a problem, so he'll come and be with them, solve the problem. That's literally what happens when Narada comes to Hastinapur. They're having a let's have a problem conference. What's the best problem? What's the best turmoil to have to bring Krishna back to Hastinapur? They direct Narada to Dwarka. When Narada reaches Dwarka, he's told, amongst all the residents of Dwarka, Uddhava is best. And when Narada is waiting to see Krishna, he doesn't come. And he's told, rumor has it, he couldn't sleep last night. So he's crashed out. He's in great sorrow. So that it turns out the sorrow of Krishna, why he couldn't sleep, is he was thinking of the residents of Vrindavan. And the separation the residents of Vrindavan were feeling for Krishna. Krishna was meditating on their feelings of separation, and his feelings of separation were making him sleepless and kind of mad, in a transcendental sense of madness. He faints. And then Balaram has a clever idea how to revive Krishna. He has a facsimile, or Nava Vrindavan, created that looks just like Vrindavan. There's cows that don't move. There's Nanda and Yasoda that don't move because they're dolls or they're figures, but that not Nanda and Yasoda, etc., etc., etc. So Balaram takes Krishna to that place and wakes him up. He wakes up and he thinks he's in Vrindavan. And slowly it dawns on him, wait a minute, this isn't Vrindavan. So then he goes back to Dwarka to explain to his queens, 16,107, because Satyabhama doesn't come. Because she's left wing. Anyway, then she comes. Krishna scolds her. And Krishna explains the love that he feels for the residents of Vrindavan and why. He wants the queens to know, I've been wanting to say this, here's the opportunity. So his feelings, he's not attached, and he's attached. He's not attached in a material sense of attached. He's transcendently attached. It's natural. Yayatam mam prapadyante. As they surrender unto me, tang sataiva bhajamyaham, I reciprocate. And the residents of Vrindavan are totally attached to Krishna. Naturally, he's totally attached to them, but although he's not attached. He's not attached in a worldly sense. He's attached in a transcendental sense. And the residents of Vrindavan have the maximum attachment for him. He has the maximum attachment for them, although out of his 6 opulences, he's not attached. Contradiction, right? We touched on some contradictions the last 2 classes, and this is one of them. It's part of the mystery of transcendence. And what we see here is the perverted reflection of the spiritual world. There's attachment for Krishna in the spiritual world, and we're attached to stuff. All that's temporary. And it's lauded and praised. The love of whatever. A dog for his master, and the master for the dog, or the parents and their children, and their country and their everything, and it's, it's praised. That's love and attachment. People sacrifice their lives for their children. A fire, so they sacrifice their life. They risk their life and sacrifice their life. And it's praised. Or, from a transcendentalist position, condemned, or explained that this is Maya's trap. Keep one enamored and captured, and so then if we're going to be detached, then trash it. That's not our program. Our program is Yukta Vairagya. Engage in performance of prescribed duties, and always think of Krishna. Mamanusmara yudhitya. And the persons that's speaking this verse, this is the sages. So the sages, commonly, sages are thought of as being not bhaktas, but gyanis. Or at least leaning in that direction. More gyan than bhakti. And so they're speaking about detachment. Because that's what's important to them, detachment. And with detachment, the door opens for attachment. As they're saying, Vishnu is detached even from the goddess of fortune. That opens the door. His detachment leads to their attachment for him. Sages. Not just attachment to Brahman, but attachment to Lord Vishnu. So there's Gyan Mishra Bhakti, or Bhakti Mishra Gyan. Either way. But they're seeing the Supreme Lord, so how fortunate. And according to their orientation, their nature, their disposition, they're offering prayers. And the prayers, I've done this several times over the past, reading sets of prayers where the demigods are offering prayers, like, for example, Canto 10, Chapter 2, prayers by the demigods. It's not just Vyasa Dev's creative composition. It's the demigods have an orientation, and their prayers reflect their orientation. There's other places where there's a series of prayers by demigods to the personality of Godhead. You study carefully the prayer, and it indicates something about the consciousness or the lens through which they see reality. And it's the pure devotee of the Lord that sees reality in full transcendence. And these personalities are not there yet. Like we're not there yet. So we don't see in full transcendence. And therefore those expressions of those that do see in pure transcendence are very valuable. Prahlad's prayers, Dhruva Maharaj's prayers, they're seeing in transcendence. The whole 10th canto, Ambarish Maharaj. So the pure devotees, the great souls, hearing their relationship, of course, even there's very variegatedness in the spiritual realm. They're not all the same. There's essences that are the same, and there's variety within those essences. So this is what it is. So if one might, sometimes people ask, I've heard people ask, why is all this other information or other topics in the Bhagavatam besides, the highest. Like, the structure of the universe and the process of creation of the universe. And it's told at least 3 times. So why is it there? Like, it's not necessary to know that to go back to Godhead, so why is it there? And it's one of the 10, these are topics in the Bhagavatam. There are demigods, and demigods have a regard for Vishnu. And what's their regard for Vishnu, and how does their regard for Vishnu compare? It's part of the big picture, so that when you get to the bullseye, the center of the target, you see its relationship with the whole big picture. Because the world in which we live, I like the way Sariputta says it. The way we view the world has a very dramatic impact on how we view ourselves. How you view the big picture has a dramatic effect on how you view yourself. Self-realization has a very strong, it's strongly influenced by the big picture. Where are we in the big picture? And it helps in detachment. Like, we're pretty tiny. It helps in humility. It helps us realize how much do we know. Speck. And the demigods are very important people. The sages are very important people. According to the Bhagavatam, we're indebted to them. So who are those people who we're indebted to? Well, let's hear from them to see when they're with Vishnu, what do they say? What's their understanding, their perception, their relationship? Part of the big picture. Okay, let's see if there's some. It's a short purport. I think we'll go to discussion. In the back.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. My understanding of this material way of attachment versus transcendental attachment is that we in the material world, we are attached to we are expecting some enjoyment, whereas the transcendental attachment is it's only for Krishna's pleasure. Is that correct?
There's other dimensions to worldly and transcendental, but yes.
So then the next question is, so the Yukta Vairagya principle, that it's understandable how we can apply to the material stuff, but when it comes to the relationships, how that can be applied? We have to be personal, but at the same time,
you leave everything up to Krishna. You do your service, and you leave everything up to Krishna. You use your intelligence, your faculties, your resources in relation to Krishna. Here's Krishna's part and parcel. In the highest sense, they're his and dear to him. Let me serve them. No, it depends on the level of consciousness one is in. But like the Madhyama makes distinctions, but still there's recognition. Even the atheists, they're part and parcel of Krishna, so we don't trash them. They're toxic. We stay away. That's relationships. We're servants, so we serve according to what's appropriate for the person and circumstance.
Yeah, I sometimes feel that I'm not matured enough, so I'm scared that it will become an impersonal kind
Yes,
of.
it is easy it's easy. The flip side of attachment is impersonalism. Transcendence is not just negation. It's easy. Vitaragavaya Krodha from Bhagavad Gita. One has to get on the other side of those. Raga and Krodha, fear. I'll get entangled, so I'm going to be impersonal. And taking shelter in Krishna and seeing things in relation to the source, Krishna. It's proprietorship. Ishopanishad. Isha. Proprietorship. So they're Krishnas. The relationships, they're Krishnas. There's Krishna and there's Krishnas. And we serve.
This is related to Lakshmi Devi, that you mentioned she's internal potency of the Lord. My question is that, like in the 8th canto, in the Kurma Avatara, that she comes out of the Mary Mount churning, and then like she been accepted by Lord Vishnu. So help me to understand, Maharaj, that like if she's internal potency, why she needs to come out of the Meru mountain, and then like why she need to be accepted by the Lord Vishnu?
She comes out of the churning of the milk ocean,
Yes.
not out of Meru mountain. But how do we understand Krishna is the son of Vasudeva Devaki? It's a pastime, right? That's how we understand it. Now, commentaries of the Acharyas may, and I'm not familiar with their commentary, may have indicated there's various manifestations of Lakshmi, not just the original, but various manifestations of Lakshmi, expansions and expansions of the expansions and those kinds of things. You follow?
Yeah.
Okay. So I would something in the back of my mind is saying, I seem to recall something about the Lakshmi that came from the churning of the milk ocean, and that Lakshmi being distinct from Narayana's consort Lakshmi. But I can't remember. And certainly the Lakshmi that people worship for prosperity is not the goddess of fortune Lakshmi, who is the consort of Narayan. It's her expansion. Or the demigoddess, who is her expansion.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. So I think I heard that Bhagavatam is full of prayers. So when you mentioned about when pure devotees' prayers are very close to the transcendence, and there are varieties of devotees, they have their own prayers. So when we read or when we hear about it, do we make a distinction of whose prayer and how our mood should be? Or
A greater refinement of your understanding will do like that. It's not that if someone reads Bhagavatam without making such distinction, they're doing something wrong, or they need to do some course correction. It's just a further refinement. This person, let me hear their prayer, etc. Let me hear their prayer. It gives some indication of who they are in their regard, where they are in this, spectrum of spiritual advancement or spiritual perfection. Because you can go way up to the top, and the residents of Vrindavan speak to Krishna the way that they speak to Krishna. You fill in the rest. They've given everything. And how they have regard for Krishna has a lot to do with rasa, and that their particular pure relationship with Krishna. Okay?
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. My question is also similar to that one. When we hear different prayers in Bhagavatam and other devotees' prayers, it kind of sometimes, because of the familiarity,
Because of the which?
Hearing the similar prayers, there is familiarity. Yeah. So what happens to me is I'm not able to deeply go inside. It feels like, okay, this I heard, this is what they are saying similarly.
Yeah.
So that tendency comes up, Maharaj, how to overcome that.
Bhakti. It's not just information, I've heard it. It's relish. How many times have you heard the Mahamantra? So it's meant to be entered into. That's bhakti. The mood of appreciating various devotees, and according to their bhakti, according to their relationship with Krishna. That's how to get over it.
Thank you, Maharaj. So we have to appreciate the devotees who are offering the prayers first. Develop that appreciation in the heart. Is that what I mean?
Again, that's an element, and there's other elements. The principle is, I'm using this phrase, we get the big picture, and there's so many persons that are part of that big picture that have different capacities of service, different moods of service, different realizations of their relationship with Krishna. And we're getting all of that through the Bhagavatam. So, Krishna has so many devotees. They go to the big picture. And then how does this voice or this personality connect with the big picture? Where are they in the big picture? And where am I in all of that? My relationship with the sages, my relationship with the wives of the yogic Brahmins, my relationship with... So, it's connecting with those personalities because of, and specifically because of the Bhagavatam, their relationship with Krishna. Krishna's at the center. And you're honoring how they have a relationship with Krishna that's unique. And it will help you appreciate when you hear the words or prayers or whatever of pure devotees, how exalted it is. How exalted they are in their words. It'll help stimulate your love for Krishna by attending to some of the details, the refinements. and your appreciation of those who have love for Krishna, which was kind of your point. Okay?
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. So when I hear about these prayers of demigods and sages, these people could see Lord Vishnu after performing yajna and those things. On the other side, the demons who attacked Krishna in Vrajavasis, they could see Krishna without performing anything, any yajnas or anything. The personal form of the Lord was there in front of them, even though they had bad intentions. Is it the factor that Vrajavasis association was there, that is the reason they could see Krishna in person without making an effort?
Our acharyas say that one cannot see Krishna without Krishna being merciful to allow one to see him, including the demons. And Krishna shows his mercy by making himself visible even to demons. Back.
This question is related to the, again, attachment to things, but the attachment when it is related to something, say for example, there is a japa that we are supposed to do, and there is a kirtan, and both are devotional, but someone who is attached to doing kirtan because of many other reasons, musicality or involvement with other things, but that is actually taking away the duty of doing the japa, and not able to move further in step, not able to progress in making, going to the goal of reaching 16 rounds, for example. And the reason that they give is that I'm attached to kirtan, I enjoy it. So it seems like it's a transcendental attachment, but at the same time progress is curtailed. Is that how to overcome that?
Gradually. When that person who says like that, or those people who say like that, become purified and more attached to the teachings and our founder Acharya as the teacher, and they read it again and again, then the willingness to submit to the teaching and the teachings and the teacher will help them make that commitment. The rule has a purpose. One may not be attached to the rule or the purpose, but it's just attached to what they're attached to. But unfortunately, if the object is the holy name and kirtan, fantastic. I mean, some people just attach to prasadam, and they don't chant at all. Keep taking prasadam and hearing. It's all good, absolute. It doesn't take away from the importance of japa. But the responsive to your question, it depends on the person, always. But encourage them in what they're feeling enlivened to do, and give them gentle reminders over a period of time. I know some people like that. And if treated with dignity and respect and kindness, it helps them grow and receive, feel accepted, feel loved, and then want to do something in reciprocation for all those things. There are times when getting a little firm has its place, but sparingly. Okay, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.